Hey guys, Triple B here! Just started to run my own tournament over on Limitless if you haven't already heard, called the Triple B format, or Budget Build Battles. The whole idea of it is to shine a bit of light on cards that don't really get to see much play in the standard format, but seem like a bit of fun single price shenanigans. So there's no rulebox Pokemon allowed, or cards. So Radiants, Ace Specs, EXs, Vs, none of that nonsense. There's also a limit on the amount of cards that you can run with the same name, at 2. So trainers, that's supporters, items, special energy, and Pokemon, you're limited to just 2 copies of a card that have the same name. There is an exception though in evolution Pokemon. So if you have a Pokemon that evolves into a stage 1, you can have 1 extra copy of the basic just to help with consistency. If it evolves into a stage 2, you can have 2 extra copies of the basic to help with consistency. So if you have 2 stage 2s in your deck, you could effectively have a 4-2-2 evolution line. Split evolutions don't change that. So if you had Gallade and Gardevoir in your deck, it doesn't mean you can run 5 basics because, well, that's illegal. And if you run the EVs, so like Umbreon, Espeon, Vaporeon, all the other Eons, you can still only have 3 copies of Eevee in your deck. So it doesn't get too crazy and just kind of helping boost numbers up and get things a little bit too ridiculous. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the rules. Basic energy don't have names, so you're not limited on the amount of copies of those that you can run. So if you wanted to run 1 Ditto and 59 Fire Energy, you technically can. The concept of the format is pretty simple, but kind of finding the meta and seeing what decks can really work in the format is going to be interesting to see what kind of shenanigans people can come up with. But yeah, since tonight was the first tournament that we had, we actually have some results to kind of see where the meta is settled, at least in this first week, to give you a bit of an idea of where things are at and some ideas for deck building if you want some encouragement. Also, I had a high profile player come by with the NAIC-winning player from last year, Cyrus Davis, popping by, and yeah, they took first in this too, so no surprises there. The top 8, you're seeing a lot of other decks here, hey? We got 2 Regis, and then everything else is kind of unknown, because these are the cards that don't see a lot of play, so that's kind of why it's a bit of a wild west, and yeah, a lot of fun. So Cyrus Davis's first place deck, interesting take on Lost Box with some cards you don't normally see in there. So they had a 3-2 Shuppet Banette line. Banette lets you put it and the previous evolution into the Lost Zone and grab a supporter card from your discard pile and pop it back into your hand. So getting 2 things into the Lost Zone to help get your engine online while adding consistency and just recursion for your supporters like Boss's Orders. They also had a 2-2-1 line of Kirlia and Gallade in there. So Kirlia giving you solid draw power and Gallade just giving you outs to a supporter every single turn, and some solid supporter lines in there. Obviously Colress because it's a Lost Zone deck, Iono for disruption, Boss we already talked about. They did have Hassel in there as well, so if one of your Pokemon was knocked out, you get to look at the top 8 cards of your deck, pick 3 of them, put them in your hand, put the other 5, I think, back into your deck or shuffle them into your deck. I'll have to actually double check that one. It's interesting card, and yeah, it's one of those cards that wouldn't really see play in standard, or at least hasn't yet, but in this format, pretty solid. Since you can only have 2 copies of supporters, you have to be a little bit creative with what you run in here. So yeah, you can only use this if one of your Pokemon was knocked out on your opponent's last turn. Look at the top 8 cards of your deck, 3 into your hand, shuffle the other ones back into your deck. So sort of like Colress, digging a little bit further though, and not having to Lost Zone stuff, which is pretty solid. Obviously, Comfey being in there, it's a Lost Box deck. It's going to be in there. Sableye and Cramorant as your core attackers. Sableye, pretty dirty when it's a single prize format. You can snipe a lot of things and make your opponent really struggle. Same with Cramorant. Getting that online first turn and taking out pre-evolutions your opponent's trying to set up hurts a lot. Also, having 2 copies of Tatsugiri in there, helping you find your supporters as you need them, a little bit more digging power to get into your Colresses and get your Lost Zone engine online if you need, and Manaphy to help out against bench protection, or as bench protection. There's not too many things in the format that do hit your bench, but the ones that do can cause quite a bit of pain, since Dragapult being a single prize Pokemon that can do 100 damage to potentially 3 things on your bench, that's a concern. That's a concern. So Manaphy, definitely worth including in your list. The rest of the stuff though, it's stuff you'd kind of see in standard, just with different counts. So Nest Ball being in here, Ultra Ball being in here, Trekking Shoes to help you dig through the deck, Lost Vacuum, another way to get more things in the Lost Zone and get your engine online, Switch, Rescue Board, Beach Court, obviously wanting to pivot those Comfies around still, but then we are seeing Capturing Aroma in here. Interesting take, so it helps you get into your basics if you hit a Tails, or into your evolutions, which you are running with Banette, Kirlia, and Gallade, if you hit heads off of it, so not too shabby. And yeah, very interesting take on the deck. And again, Cyrus, if you are watching this, congrats on winning, and good luck in your polls. Did net 25 codes for winning the tournament, as well as we do have a unique deck prize that's given away. So at the end of the stream, kind of just look at some of the decks, and we put it to a bit of a vote in the Twitch chat, see who wins. And Cyrus actually got a tie for the most unique. So he got an extra 5 codes for having the most unique deck, and second place actually got the other half of that with a pretty cheeky Espatra list. So it's a deck that I would never think to even think of. So this one, they have Xatu as a way to accelerate energy out, since Espatra does need a psychic energy and 2 colorless to attack. I'll bring up the Espatra just so you can see what it does before we get into the rest of the deck, so you can kind of piece it together. It would probably help if I spelled that right. There we go, Espatra. That's not the run I want. I am meaning Enamorous. I'll be honest, probably not editing this too much because I'm taking a bit of a holiday tomorrow, so we're just doing this in one take. And yep, that's it. It's all gonna be one take. So Enamorous, Psychic, double colorless energy, 70 base damage, but if you have the same number of cards in your hand as your opponent, it does 70 more damage. I don't think that's the right Enamorous though. That's not the right Enamorous. We got 2 Enamorouses with some shenanigans attacks. This is the one we want. So 80 base damage, a little bit better. You don't even need the secondary condition of it to take out a lot of the Pokemon in the format. Hitting 3 evolutions, you'll be doing all right. But if any of your Pokemon in play are the same type as any of your opponent's Pokemon in play, an extra 120. So the way that this deck operated was by having multiple Pokemon of different types that have free retreat and can be targeted off Buddy Poffin, and just get them on your bench, and you are always hitting 200 damage for the most part. I think the only type they didn't cover for was fighting, but Enamorous hits for weakness, so you don't really need to do 200. You're just doing 160 as a base, which is usually fine. So you have Cleffa in there, obviously free attack, free retreat can help you fill your hand to 7 cards. You've got Magby, Mantike, Elekid. Yeah, pretty cheeky stuff in there. Tatsugiri giving you dragon type coverage, Morpeko giving you dark type coverage, and also having free retreat when it doesn't have a dark energy attached to it. So it's another great pivot Pokemon, and Chatot to help into colorless decks. So yeah, the fighting type, they obviously could sneak in like Bonsly. It's another baby Pokemon. You can target it off Buddy Poffin, gives it free retreat. I think the only matchup it would come in play in this format is into Okidogi. If it has a dark energy attached, it has a little too much health to get one shot by Enamorous, so definitely a consideration. Even having Shaman in there to help for the grass coverage is pretty cool. I really like it. The supporter lineup in here, similar things as what you would see in standard for the most part. Like you're seeing your Ionos, your research, but then you're seeing some different stuff like Lana. Lana in this format, definitely a solid card to have. It lets you get 3 in any combination of basic energy or non-rule box Pokemon from your discard pile, put them immediately back into your hand. So if your opponent's trying to target down your small HP Pokemon, they've got 30 health, they're trying to take them off so that you're not hitting 200 damage, you just go Lana, get it back, you're fine. It also gets you your psychic energy back so that Xatu can be just triggering it to your bench constantly. Having all those free retreat Pokemon too, you've always got to pivot so Xatu can be charging up your Enamorous. Honestly, solid list, and yeah, it's kind of terrifying. I didn't end up pairing it in the tournament, and happy because I don't even know how I'd play that matchup. Probably just get bodied. Having the Tulip as well, and similar to Lana, letting you get any combination of basic psychic energy and psychic Pokemon from your discard pile though. So it's a little bit more limited than Lana is, but getting 4 instead of 3. So it gets you your psychic energy, gets you your Xatus, your Enamorous, your Cleffa if you're in a pinch. Not too bad. Cypher Maniac, just being able to guarantee yourself 2 cards on top of the deck. So when you use Xatu, you're drawing into them. Airzu to just get your evolution Pokemon out, so it gets your Xatus out of your deck immediately into your hand, and then you can evolve into them. You're in a good spot. Boss for Solid Gust, I was about to say draw power, getting ahead of myself. We had Morty in here, Morty's Conviction, so it lets you discard a card from your hand and then draw a card for each one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. In this format, most people are benching out, so it's basically just a, hey, straight draw 5. When Xatu's filling up your hand and your other supporters are usually getting you into a large hand size, being able to just straight draw into stuff, yeah, not bad, not bad. We've got Buddy Poffin, Nest Ball, Ultra Ball, Seeing Capturing Aroma again in here as a search option, Heavy Ball to get your basic Pokemon out of the prizes. When you've only got 1 copy of each of those guys to do your type coverages, having Heavy Ball to access them is pretty clutch. A Evo TM as well to help get your Xatu online ASAP if possible. And we've got Artisan as well to help get your basics onto your bench. Artisan is one of those things that it is very useful to have. Obviously, establishing your bench is helpful, but be mindful, it does help your opponent as well. Solid list though, and honestly, yeah, this is absolutely cooked, and no surprise that it got second place tonight. In third, we are seeing a Regigigas list. Love it. Honestly, love it. Reggie's kind of fallen out of favor in standard format, but seeing success in the Triple B format, it's no surprise. It's a solid single prize attacker. It's a solid way to recur your energy. Regigigas, obviously, if you have every single Reggie in play, get, I think it's what, 3 energy from your discard pile and attach them to your Pokemon as you like, so you can charge up most of your attackers in one go, with the exception being the Regigigas. There is DTE in here though, so you get DTE, 2 other energy, attach another energy for turn, and you're fine. You've got gift energy, so you can constantly be attaching that to pay for a colorless attack cost in one of your other Reggies, and then get the appropriate colors to pay for the rest of the attack cost. If they knock you out, draw into a 7-card hand. Profits? Not too bad. There is obviously limitations. Playing on PTCGL, we do play in the standard format, so it's a bit more selective onto what Reggies you use. Regice, Regirock, Regigigas. We do have the Draw Power Regidrago, which seems like a solid one. The one that did 240, unfortunately, was in Evolving Skies and has rotated out. Registeel in here. Not a bad attacker, honestly, for this format too. Just 220 and then less damage based off the amount they have in their retreat cost. So into most things, like you're hitting pretty hard. And when most things only have 130 to 160 HP, yeah, you're doing fine. And Regieleki being a way to recover a card from your discard pile. I think it's a 1 colorless energy. Get a trainer card back from your discard pile, pop it into your hand. Early game, it's not bad to be able to help set up your bench. It can be recurring your nest balls. It can be recurring your stadiums if you want, your earthen vessels to get your energy into your hand and into the bin, and then charging up your guys. Pretty solid. Having Carmine as a draw supporter as well. So first turn of the game, you can use this. Normally you can, so it lets you cheat a little bit. Discard, draw 5. You want to be discarding your energy anyway, so that's all right. Rest of the stuff, I feel like it's things we've seen. Boss, it's Gust. Lana, we've already talked about why it's so good in this format. Just being able to recur your Reggies, definitely solid. Eerie, just for some solid disruption. Yeah, not bad. You can discard some of your opponent's Pokemon search before they get a chance to use it, or super odds before they get to use it to reset their Pokemon and energies back into the deck. Yeah, that'll hurt. Trekking shoes to dig through. We are seeing Egg Incubator in here, which it's been a while since I've seen that one, so we'll look that up real quick. But it is from Pokemon Go. And what's this one do? So flip a coin. If heads, search your deck for a basic Pokemon, put it onto your bench. If it's tails, you put Egg Incubator on the bottom of your deck. So either you're getting a Pokemon or you're getting to potentially use this card again further into the game. So not a bad shout. Honestly, a very interesting card to see popping up in this list, and it makes a lot of sense. The rest of the stuff, though, I feel like it's things you kind of anticipate from a Reggie list. It's just kind of adapted to this format, so you are limited to 2 copies of a card. That includes the special energy. So DT 2, Luminous 2, Gift and Jet at 1. I feel like those counts are all kind of just fine. And then you have the basic energy to cover all of your different attack costs. So yeah, solid list, and love seeing Reggie getting, well, some love in the format again. In 4th place, we are seeing a Lucario Okidogi, also featuring a Gallade and Basculegion. It's kind of cracked. It's kind of cracked. So we have the Lucario. It has Roaring Resolve. It lets you search your deck for a fighting energy and attach it to it. Takes 20 damage in doing it though. The attack costing 2 fighting energy, it basically just means use this ability, attach for turn, you can swing. Not too bad. It's also very helpful since you do have energy switch in here. So the other idea in it is charge up Lucario, energy switch it onto an Okidogi, attach for turn to Okidogi, and you can get going. When Okidogi has a dark type energy attached to it, it gets an extra 100 HP, bringing it up to 230, and we are seeing Luxurious Cape in here as well. So you can effectively have a 330 HP basic single prize Pokemon swinging for 170 if there's a dark energy on it. Something to keep in mind, Luxurious Cape does make it so it's not actually a single prize Pokemon anymore. I know I just said it was, but Luxurious Cape makes it so you take 1 extra prize off it. So this is one of the rare instances you will see a 2 prize Pokemon in the format if people are running that card. Pretty cheeky. Also has Flamigo in here, which has a comeback attack. So it's 20 base damage and then I think extra 90? Double check that one for you guys. Yeah, so 20 base damage. Oh, it's not comeback, it's combat beak. That's easier to read when the font's a little bit bigger. So it does 20 more damage for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So if they bench out, you're doing an extra 100, 120 off 2 energy, not too shabby, and another quick basic Pokemon you can set up. So attach for turn, E-switch off Lucario, or did this one have experience share in it? No, let's double check this. No experience shares. So yeah, it would just be like manually charging that up on the back end, or E-switch off Lucario, be in a pretty good way. Lucario, obviously, its attack does have to discard energy when you use it. So having Flamigo and Okidogi that can repeatedly attack, you're in a good spot. But with Lucario discarding the energy, having the Basculin in here for Gather the Crew to help establish your bench, and its evolution Basculegion to help recycle energy back into the deck while also dealing damage. So I think it scales up by either 20 or 30. For each energy in your discard pile, and then it puts them right back in. So 20 damage. So 20 more damage for each basic in your discard pile, shuffle them back into your deck. So it does help to reset the Lucario as well. So it's a nice kind of loop you get going there. You got a lot of attacking options, got a lot of routes you can take the deck. So like big beat stick, uncapped damage potentially, Lucario just accelerating energy to itself to deal with bigger targets as well, Basculegion, endgame big beat stick. And then also having the draw engine of Kirlia with Gallade. So we did see this in Cyrus's winning list, and for good reason. Kirlia giving you solid draw power, and Gallade just giving you a way to target a supporter every turn. Yeah, you're in a good spot there. We also have Monkey Dory in here just to move some damage counters around. So we have Dark Energy in here for Okidogi. Monkey Dory can capitalize off those as well. We've got a Dark Energy on it. You can move up to 3 damage counters off one of your Pokemon and onto your opponents. Since Lucario is going to be taking damage as it's accelerating energy out, it just gives us a way to move damage around, right? Monkey Dory just goes, no, that's not for us, that's for you. You give it away. Or if Okidogi's tanking some hits, just give it to your opponent. That's fine. It's pretty cheeky. And yeah, we're seeing Monkey Dory seeing a lot of play in Standard. It's going to see play in this format as well. Very good card. Supporter line, we've got Iono, Arven, Boss, Airzu making another appearance in here, getting you into your Lucarios, your Basculegions, your Kirlia, your Gallade. It's solid. Pokegear to help dig into those supporters. And yeah, the rest of the list I feel like speaks for itself. It's cards we've seen in the other lists, the exception being the Luxury Cape, which we've talked about already, and the Turbo Energized TM. So you can attach this to a Pokemon, 1 colorless energy to use it, and then search your deck for 2 energy, attach them to your Pokemon in any way that you'd like. So it's a great way to get your dark energy out of your deck and onto your Okidogis and your Monkey Dories and just start setting them up. So it's like, these are online. Like if you have 2 Okidogis on your bench, Turbo Energize, dark here, they're both 230 already. Like that's a solid play. So love it. Also just getting your fighting energy to set up like Flamigo or Lucarios as attackers is a great call out. But in 5th place, we are seeing Feraligtr. Yeah, never thought I'd say that. But in this format, anything is possible. So Feraligtr has an ability that it can take 5 damage counters, and when it does, it's going to boost its damage output by 120. So its attack does 160 damage. That means you can get up to 280. You can deal with those really big guys like an Okidogi that doesn't have a Luxury Cape. You can just one-shot him if you use the ability in that attack. Not too bad, but we're also seeing a Relicanth in this list, which gives you access to your pre-evolution Pokemon's attacks. Totodile has the attack Big Bite that does 10 damage and makes it so your opponent can't retreat from the active. So you can just lock something like a Bibarel in the active and just say, nah, you're not moving anywhere. You don't need to use Feraligator's ability to boost the damage. Like you can just lock them, buy some time while you get set up. It's not bad. I did play this deck tonight and it was frustrating being in that situation. It also has Croconaw that has the reverse thrust attack, does 30 damage, and you can just bounce it to the bench with something else. So if you don't want Feraligator or Croconaw taking damage, pivot into something with free retreat, like Dunsparce or Dunsparce, that you can then move around the following turn if you really want to. But for the most part, it seemed like Feraligator was kind of just sat in the active and using Big Bite, buying time, or taking out the big targets when you only had one thing set up. Pretty cool. Also having the Monkey Dory in this list as well. So when Feraligator does take 5 damage counters, you can just put them onto your opponent. It's not bad. You can even just have Feraligator kind of like sat on the bench, proccing its ability to move damage counters, have a Totodile in the active using Big Bite, blocking your opponent in the active while you're just picking apart their bench. is a very interesting list and love seeing it. The Dudunsparce engine there though, giving you that free retreat, also giving you the option to bounce it back into the deck and straight draw 3 cards. Really cool, and honestly seems like a good call out for this format. Running Bibarel, you do have that risk of your opponent bosses it up or they counter catcher it up, it's locked in the active. Limit of 2 cards with the same name, so like switch cards. Well, switch card wouldn't even work because it's an evolution, but like switch is limited. So it is one of those awkward situations. That's what happened to me, and I'll be honest, I got a little cocky. I wasn't running Switch in my list. That's kind of on me and just comes down to deck building, so keep that in mind. It is a solid strategy to go in this meta, so yeah, don't make that mistake. Switch needs to be in most decks. You have a Rita to get into your Feraligtrs and an item card, so you can get a rare candy and get online quickly. You can get into like Buddy Poffin and Totodiles and just start setting up your bench, like kind of going wide. It's really cool. A lot of the cards in here, though, we are seeing from other lists. So Erzu, Boss, Iono, Arven, Lana, we've already talked about. We are seeing Roseanne's backup in here, which is an interesting one. It did kind of seem like they were using reversal energy quite a bit to get the Feraligatr online quickly. So having that to be able to repeat, pretty solid. Also, a lot of stadiums in here as one-offs. So being able to repeat those could be very useful. Pokemon League HQ, making it so basic Pokemon have to pay 1 more energy to attack. Very helpful. Calamitous Snowy Mountain, making it so your opponent takes damage when they attach energy to their Pokemon if it's not a basic water Pokemon. When you've got Monkey Dory manipulating damage counters around, them taking a little bit of chip damage here and there can make the difference of, oh, now you're in just range of, I can give you some of my damage in that stead, and then I hit the active really hard and take 2 prizes in 1 turn. So risky. Lake Acuity also making it so Feraligatr has effectively 200 HP. You're going to take 20 less damage from attacks if you have water energy attached. Feraligatr's gonna have water energy attached. It is repeating as well. So I'm saying it has 200 HP. That's if they're going for a one-shot. If they're trying to do little bits of chip damage into you, like Cramorant does 110, now it's doing 90 into you. You use Monkey Dory, you move some of that damage counters off. It's gonna make you into like a 3-hit target in most instances. Seeing Devolution TM in here as well. So Monkey Dory, move damage counters, devolve things, good. And Evolution TM to get your guys online quickly. Experience Share just to be able to recur some of that energy. 2 water energy to get Feraligatr set up. You want to be able to have one on the bench that if it does get knocked out, it just pulls it onto it and you're in a good spot. Or even just Monkey Dory, theoretically, if you had to attach a dark energy to something, like maybe you throw it on there because it's like, oh, they're in weird spots. I don't see that situation coming up. I feel like it was mostly for the Feraligatr, and yeah, honestly, love seeing the creativity of this list. We are seeing Grusha in here as well as Salvatore. So Salvatore lets you search your deck for a Pokemon that evolves from one of your Pokemon and evolve into it immediately, as long as it doesn't have an ability. So the idea for that one, I think it's just Totodile into Croconaw first turn. Interesting. I could be missing something there because you can't use it to get into the Feraligatr. You can't use it to get into the Dudunsparce. So I'm not 100% on the logic there, but interesting card to have for sure. Grusha, it is, I believe, look at the top 7 cards of your deck, or no, hang on. I'm thinking of a different water Pokemon trainer. Grusha is like if you have no energy attached, right? Draw cards until you have 5 in your hand. If none of your Pokemon have any energy attached, draw cards until you have 7 in your hand instead. Okay, so I guess the idea of that one is since you are reversal energy dependent for a lot of stuff, if you had reversal energy attached or before you attach it, just use Grusha, get 7. Yeah, seems like a good card for sure. In 6th place, we are seeing another Regigigas. And this one has some spice in it. So we've got the 2/2/2s of all the Unununs, as you'd expect. You're also seeing Fluttermane in here. So when it's in the active, your opponent's active Pokemon doesn't have abilities. There's a lot of Pokemon in this format that want abilities to be able to do stuff. And if Fluttermane just says, nah, well, and Fluttermane says, nah. Cramorant can't do anything into it. It's kind of funny. We're also seeing Pinsir in here, which I had to look this one up. I have to look this one up. I think it's a comeback one? Or what was this one? I keep thinking things are comebacks. Yeah, so if you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent, this does 90 more damage. So 2 grass and a colorless, 180 theoretically. Also gives you type coverage into things that are grass weak, which could come up. Obviously hitting weakness off 90 doubles to 180. Or if you're behind on prizes and they're weak to grass, doubles to 360. The options there. I don't know if it's going to be relevant ever, but it's there. It's pretty cheeky. It's pretty cheeky. And like seeing these cards, you're probably wondering, well, why are they in there? Reggie can't accelerate stuff to them. They have Thornton. So you fill your bench with Reggies, you accelerate energy to one of the Reggies, and then you Thornton it into one of these things. Like you could charge up a Flutter Mane if you wanted. Well, you could charge up a Reggie and turn it into a Flutter Mane and attack with it, shutting off your opponent's active abilities and declaring damage. Kind of cheeky. Setting up Pincer, declaring damage. There's also Minior in here. So Minior is you can attach an energy to it and pivot it to the active. It's just like attaching an energy is basically like using a jet energy on it. So it gives you another solid attacker to go into. I've got to double check the attack on that one as well. But I think it was scaling based off energy in play. So this attack does 20 damage for each colorless energy in your opponent's active Pokemon's retreat cost. That's what it is. Okay. Yeah, not too bad. Could help out into like lightning matchups too, just having something that's like, oh, you're weak to fighting. Cool. Throw this down, bounce it into the active. Bop. Having something just to pivot around too is useful. Yeah, interesting card. Very interesting card. And then what else do we have in here? Iron Bundle. So Iron Bundle's attack. If your opponent's active Pokemon, or the defending Pokemon is an evolution Pokemon, they can't attack on the following turn. So just having that, so you see a deck that's very reliant on like a stage 2 attacking, you just say, nah. It's funny, like that Feraligtr list we just looked at. Iron Bundle just, nah, you can't attack. It's pretty cool. Does also have the option that you can just put it on your bench, discard it, and it works like a repel. So your opponent has to switch their active Pokemon with one of their bench Pokemon. Also frees up your space, your bench space, so then put a Reggie back on the bench. And then if you really wanted, you could Thornton into it if you did want to use the attack ever again, or even just Thornton into it for a bit of gust. Kind of cheeky. The supporter line in here, a lot of similar stuff. So we're seeing Research, Iono, Lana's Aid, talked about the Thornton already. Bill's Transfer, double check that one. But the Miriam is you can put 5 Pokemon from your discard pile back into your deck, shuffle, draw 3. So recurring your Reggies and getting draw power, not a bad shout. Super Rod in here to help with that as well. 2 copies of Counter Catcher for some added gust. We're not seeing any boss's orders, so that's an interesting take. Lost Vacuum in here as well. Cheeky, I like it. Could definitely help out into like Luxurious Capes and Bravery Charms if we start seeing those pop up. Pokestop, obviously helping you get your energy into the discard pile while thinning your deck, getting into items, setting up your Reggies. Great card to have in here. Yeah, no, I really like this list. Really like this list. I'm going to double check the Bill's Transfer though. I feel like it was a straight draw type card. Like look at cards on the top of your deck and grab some. Look at the top 8 cards of your deck. You may reveal any number of Pokemon you find there and put them into your hand. Shuffle the others back into your deck. Okay, so straight. It's effectively just like find my Reggies. That's cool. I like that. All right, so after this we have 7th place. So in 7th place we are seeing an Espathra Xatu Togekiss deck. Very interesting. So Togekiss having free retreat and also an ability that at the end of your turn, draw until you have 8 cards in your hand. So that's after you attack. You attack and then your turn ends. So it's just solid draw support. I like it. You can go a little bit aggressive on just ditching your hand. The Espathra in here, though, is when you evolve up into it, it doesn't take damage from attacks, I believe. This is why I was trying to look up Espathra when I meant to be looking up Enamorous earlier. So Espathra is when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, prevent all damage from and effects of attacks of your opponent's Pokemon done to this until the end of your opponent's next turn. So it's basically evolve into this, you're invincible. The attack is 70 damage, and if Tulips in your discard, 70 more. So effectively 140 damage once you get that supporter into your discard pile. Not too bad. Obviously being able to charge this up quickly with the Xatu. Attach for turn, Xatu to it, get going. You have Togekiss as free retreat, so that Xatu can be proccing onto that. You're in a pretty good way. Having Gengar in here too as a quick attacker, you can kind of cheat out of the discard. So its ability is, if it's in the discard pile, you can put it onto your bench. It's going to take 3 damage though. The attack is 1 psychic energy, and then I believe it scales. Well, I'm just going to look it up. I'm going to stop guessing. It's been a while since I've actually read the attack because it's usually used for the ability in like Zoroark V-Star decks and stuff. Put 2 damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So if they have a full bench, 1 Psychic Energy, basically put 10 damage counters on the active. Not bad. I like it. I like it. Cheeky little attacker you can cheat out. It's never a bad thing to have in your deck. Also having Cleffa as another free retreat option so that you can be proccing that Xatu, and the attack just being able to let you draw until 7 cards of your hand. Early game, that's not bad. Lana, seeing in here again, Carmine for some solid early game draw power, Boss for Gust, Iono, Disruption, Tulip. Obviously, you have only Psychic Pokemon in the deck. You can get all of them back from your discard pile and your basic energy back from the discard as well with this. So it's basically just like a better Lana for this build. Having 2 counts of that and 2 of Lana feels a bit aggressive. But I guess if you're going a little aggressive with what you're discarding early in the game, like using Earthen Vessel, just be binning energy in Pokemon, Ultra Ball, same thing. It's just a way to recur them, so it makes sense. Airs you to help you get into your evolutions. Pokemon Search in here is pretty standard. Lost Vacuum helping out into those item-dependent decks as well, or just bumping a Stadium in some situations does seem really good, so I like this list. Also, like Rare Candy to cheat out the Togekiss is cool. It's neat. Very neat list. And in 8th place, we are seeing an Ancient Box deck. It's got some cards you wouldn't normally see in an Ancient Box, but because you are limited to just 2 copies of a card with the same name, you have to get a bit creative. So Walking Wake, you don't normally see that. But it has the Ancient logo at the top right, so it's in the deck. Get in the discard pile, it helps scale up your Roaring Moon's attack damage. Koraidon having a solid attack, scaling up by the amount of ancient Pokemon on your bench. You have a bunch. Fighting Energy and a colorless, get that going. So attach, return, Sada, you have an attacker online. Also having Shred attack as its second. All right, the second attack having Shred. Doesn't look like there's any Fire Energy in here though, so I don't think that would be coming up. Looks like they've opted for Water so that Walking Wake could be able to attack. So be interested to know the logic of that and not maybe going with Fire instead of Water and having access to Shred. But I guess there's not that many things in the format that you need to kind of shred through, so it makes sense. It makes sense. But yeah, Great Tusk also in here for some mill. Only having 2 copies of a card, if you can mill your opponent out of one of their win conditions, could be very helpful. Or if they get a little bit aggressive in drawing through their deck and you see a potential to just mill them so that they draw no cards for turn and lose. It's nice. Brute Bonnet being in here. We do have Ancient Boots capsule, so you can be poisoning your opponents and your active Pokemon. But yeah, helps fix up some numbers. Also being able to attack since you do have Dark Energy in here. And Sandy Shocks as another little bit of a type coverage. So being able to attack, hitting things for weakness could be pretty good. Explorer's Guidance, solid draw power that says Ancient on it. Boss in here. Penny. Penny's cool, actually. So Penny, we've got Ancient Boost Capsule. A lot of these things can have 200 health. Might tank some hits. Penny, pick them up. Put them back down. Boost Capsule on them again. You're in a good spot. And then the rest of the stuff is, yeah, mostly cards we've kind of covered before. Energy sticker in here. A little bit of an extra energy acceleration. Since you are limited to 2 copies of Sada, it makes sense. You flip a coin. If heads, get a energy from your discard pile, pop it on one of your Pokemon. So it's cool. Very cool Pokemon. But yeah, so that's the top 8 for the first budget build battle or triple B format or 3B. Kind of, you know, still spitballing around what we want to call it. Let me know what you think we should call it in the comments down below. But I kind of like having my own format. Triple B format's neat. But budget build battles, 100%. I think that'll be the name we stick with. But yeah, it's just if we refer to it as 3B or triple B, whatever you think. Let me know in the comments down below. Kind of rambling. It's getting a little bit late. It is close to 1 o'clock for me. I'm based in Australia. But wanted to get this video done, obviously, to celebrate the launch of the tournament and kind of get the word out of it about it. So there will be another tournament next Friday. It's going to be at 8 p.m. Australian Central Time. So if you're based in the Koala country, hope to see you guys there. And can't wait to see what you guys cook up for the next one. But till next time, stay golden.